Good evening, everybody. It's Leo coming at you once again with a video diary entry for the book Thorns by Bridget DeVoe. Compilation of poetry, thoughts, and lessons learned, and everything like that. Um, you notice a little difference, slight little change of scenery doing this. I thought it'd be great to come outside um, and do this, and I've done my video diary entries in this setting before, so I'm kind of getting my feet wet again, a little, kind of like acting, when you haven't acted for some time, to kind of get recalibrated to play that role effectively. But same way with this, but I will do my best. But to go ahead and dive right in, tonight's entry, we get really deep tonight. We get really, really deep tonight. And, to be honest with you, when I read this yesterday, this poem got me thinking, about a couple things. A question of, how did you get this way? How could one do this? And the other side to it is to really start understanding that when you encounter people, when you connect with people, you're going to get the best of somebody and you're going to get the worst of somebody. That is just a fact of life. You know what I mean? But with this particular poem, it got me thinking. I think there's a line you you kind of have to form when it comes to allowing yourself to experience the worst of somebody. There's somebody who has an off day now and then there are just completely toxic people altogether. You know, a person who has an off day is likely to have some remorse for a not so beautiful side that they show to you. Whereas a toxic person, from what I find, in observing people, is that they don't seem to have any sort of remorse for their actions. And therefore, their behavior doesn't change. They never really grow, as a person into a better person. They're kind of just content with, the negativity that they bring. They feel it sort of spices up life a little. And that could be the vibe this guy is giving that she was with. But anyway, poem is like a post-breakup question. And it reads, "You were so gentle when you were inside of me. How could you have been so brutal with my heart? You were so gentle when you were inside of me. How could you have been so brutal with my heart?" Whew. My goodness gracious, deep tonight. But video diary entry simply titled Inside of Me. Inside of me. Bridget and I tonight have taken a seat in front of a wide and vast sunset. To me, this is like a sunset colored song. This is a post breakup question that you sort of write in your diary or in your journal, trying to make sense of things. And even as I examined this a little bit further, I said to myself, kind of answering her question, I said, sometimes, Bridget, there is a why to these things, but it's not always going to be presented to you right away. You may not find out the why of certain things until later down the line. But right now, it's just the time to, do what you're doing, reflect on it, and kind of put your feelings out there and be honest about where you are. As I read this poem, I think about, in my mind, I picture myself it's sort of looking into the eyes of the person who's hurt me, who's broken my heart, who really shattered my heart to pieces. And it's looking at them like that question, how could you? What exactly made you this way? How could you be such an angel in the beginning and then totally relinquish the devil out of you? How in the world does that happen? But yeah, just questions, rolling through my mind and sentiments tumbling in some very deep places. But yeah, to get into some of the poetry here that I wrote for this, my beginning piece titled The Future Holds. The Future Holds. Just what did you promise me, if anything? A good time, a good life, a good season, a short length of each. Yeah, I think they call that a fling. But better that your fangs were shut, but your mind shot open to all things possible. Your mouth took notes, I suppose. Ah, well, what's done is done. As promised, the future holds. This poem is really interesting because it sort of says, you know, while with your mouth you didn't really promise anything, your actions basically spoke louder than your words. You know, this thing of actions speaking louder than words, that can be a good thing and that can be a not so great thing. Because when you're a fake person and you come off in your actions as genuine and, you know, this astounding person, but then you did what you could do to win my heart, but you didn't do what was necessary to cherish it. Perhaps you sought to gain my trust, but you didn't care to win my heart. So it's kind of a play on words a little bit. The future holds, and it kind of has that ellipse sort of at the ending. But what's done is done, as promised. You kind of still made a false promise with all of these wonderful actions that were nothing but, color-coded charms. They weren't centered on truth embodied within the essence of love. But yes, the future holds. And the next one, titled, This is a Note to Us. This is a note to us. A promise like a wedding ring round the heart will always remain. A vow I would have loved to watch flourish like flower petals of a garden, brighter colors and brightest stars, morning liveliest of days, adorning liveliest of days. Summer rays, but a fire nestled upon a sacred page. promise of the age broken, sealed in the bitter banks of discardment. You can imagine my disheartening, but a promissory note falsified will do that to you, or a passionate lie painted vibrantly, a hollow truth triumphant regardless on my end, the death of you in ashes. You missed that part, but you signed it. This is a note to us. Very bittersweet poem, very, I would even I would even say very poignant and deep and sort of remorseful poem for her, because for having fell for this, this charm and promise embodied that was nothing more than a promissory note that was falsified. A promise like a wedding ring round the heart will always remain. A vow I would have loved to watch flourish like flower petals of a garden, brighter colors and brightest stars, adorning liveliest of days. I pictured all this breathtaking beauty and all of this, only to watch the reality of that, crumble in front of my face. Very dismal place to be, but in the end of it, the death of you in ashes, you missed that part, but you signed it. You probably didn't know that when I would detect this, when I would uncover this, that I would actually discard you from my life, that I would not tolerate this abuse forever. But yes, this is a note to us. And I do these every so often. Not a lot, but every so often. A little intermission. A little intermission. Kind of like my pause, with her and what's going on and everything. But a question, was it ever? Was it ever? Pity the poet who paints of love's luscious wonders, but lethalalizes her precious seed with poisonous root, raw truth and action, abolished afore it could begin. It was only my love. Yes, I know, but was it ever my love? Was it? I'm gonna read it again. Pity the poet who paints of love's luscious wonders, but lethalalizes her precious seed with poisonous root, raw truth and action, abolished afore it could begin. It was only my love. Yes, I know, but was it ever my love? Was it? In this intermission, it's sort of me asking her the question. And as I said before, I write empathically a lot of times. So sometimes there's some ellipses in here. It's like parts of of our conversation that you don't hear, but it's really me asking her, was it ever love? Was it really love? Or was it just a moment built on top of moments that would just eventually build a monstrosity? Was there ever anything solid within your connection with him? Was anything ever established? It makes me ask that question. So in that intermission, I posed to her, was it ever? And the next one, poem, titled the love that was. Perhaps in her mind, she thought it was love, you know, love as best as she knew it. But yes, the love that was. We were rolling in the lot, and next thing you know, my bones shattered by the pounding waves. He dried up quite quickly once he finished. Wish I could tell him, and I've tried so many times, but poetry and practice never seem to penetrate his heart nor ear. He's like a hollow vault, void in silence, deaf in tone, dead perhaps. I passed on something to him, and it shocked him. Lifeless, or perhaps he hasn't graduated the level of surprise. The awkward stage of possibility ushered into live play in passionate color. I disown him now, maybe not disown, despise, more my alley. For a heart like mine is suited to love, even the deathly, resurrected and on repeat, permanently this time, as it was and so it is. I love him. I love him. The love that was. This poem paints for me very vividly the place that we're in. This sunset that we're sitting by almost sort of becomes a historical landmark where all of this transpired, and we're just sort of sitting here reflecting and really trying to find answers, to these, mind-boggling questions. I passed on something to him and it shocked him. Lifeless, or perhaps he hasn't graduated the level of surprise. The awkward stage of possibility ushered into live play and passionate color. I disown him now, maybe not disown, despise more my alley. For a heart like mine is suited to love, even the deathly, resurrected and on repeat, permanently this time. As it was and so it is, I love him. I love him. The love that was. Sort of reminds me of a post, one of my high school classmates, Facebook friend, posted. You really don't know how hard it is with love until have to try to learn to unlove somebody. Because when your heart is so infatuated and, passionately invested in this person, those feelings definitely don't just disappear overnight. And quite honestly, I don't think they ever do. But I think over time, as you do the work and, you reflect and sort of build a recourse of action, you heal in the process. But it's understandable though, because love is such a beautiful thing. It's a magic that even the greatest magician can't really put his fingers on if he or she tried. It's so deep and so vast and so rich, and it's soft and wild, it's colorful, it's even sad some days. But even in its saddest times, love is quite a striking element of life. Love being kind of like the place we're in right now, a sunset. Place to ponder and pine upon sorrows, but also paint reruns of joyous memories. That's the love that was. And the next one titled So Gently, So Gently. And then you can't already tell I'm really in it. I am really with her in this place. You know, people are walking around, but I don't even care. You know, this is a passion of mine, very deeply so. So gently, and then I reminisce upon his touch, like I relished the butterfly inside the forest, who touched me in a lonely place, a solemn place, an honored place, a touch I thought would undress a brighter harmony, like the bounty of a spell, but a curse weaves wonder much differently. Funny, cured carries the same letters, a message of tonality with a darker tint, a polar opposite, pleasure, poisonous waters, boisterous wine swallowed like tsunamis and cities drowned therein. How could one so gentle become one so gallant in the glorious art of destruction? An angel choked in devil's cough, I suppose, or perhaps the opposite. But either way, I miss him. Ah, his touch. Serenest of bells, dreamiest of spells, deadliest of wells to throw me in, thunders of love. I've been struck, and I can say that now. So gently, and then better to have loved once than never to have loved at all. Better to be shot by Cupid's arrow, lifeless, than anesthetically sound. But so gently, and then I begin and question, how could one so gentle become one so gallant in the glorious art of destruction? That star I once found delight in has now burned me like a white fire, which is perhaps the most destructive and annihilating of sorts. If there was anything beyond a class Delta fire, your apathy and your breakup with me would definitely take that position. Severely burned the ashes I became by your absence, your callousness, like a cruel dagger, sharpened, double-edged, that poses a poisonous jealousy within the sword. My blood lies all over the place, having loved you this passionately and so deeply, because I was not destroyed by a gruesome person in the beginning. No, I was destroyed by what posed as glorious and golden at first sight. But my torment is rather grueling. But by the thunders of love, I've been struck, and I can say that now. So again, kind of a bittersweet place to be in meditating on love. But I get it, Bridget. I absolutely get it. I get it. And on forward, ah well, or ah while it lasted. That's the title of it, ah while it lasted. I should savor the touch of wind before she wavers in her alternate direction. Afar from the place my eyes are fixed, her skies bewitching, his honor, his love, the twisting of plots, the stains that last, ah, but the blessing, the knowledge amassed. Naivety neutered, heartless, thorough waters of the mind shall mold my passion in future ages. Diary pages laden with songs, the passionate resistance, my lover persistent, my heart insistent on abolishing her songful essence. A soundless music, but the songbird won't stop. With him, my song died, but I flied the troubles of honor and all tied in the arms of love, and it was fun, exhilarating, regenerating as of now, while remembering, ah, while it lasted. Amazing, amazing. Mm-mm-mm. Her skies bewitching, his honor, his love, a twisting of plots, the stains that last, but the blessing, the knowledge amassed, naivety neutered, heartless, thorough waters of the mind shall mold my passion in future ages. Perhaps I won't go into this so much with my heart, but I will think a bit more next time. While I don't want to necessarily close my heart to love, I do want to guard it a bit tighter, and only so I don't make the same mistake I did before in having thought that somebody loved me and even tried to convince myself that this person loved me when their actions clearly showed otherwise. The poetry that causes you to ponder and think as poetry should, though mysterious in its sound, embellishing words of wisdom lie in each line. You just kind of have to read between them. But this venture with him was fun, exhilarating, but I'm healing as of right now while I remember. And the after quote of mine. So this kind of marks my word of advice to her. You know, as I said, I write empathically, understanding how she feels. But then I also write from my own standpoint sometimes. You know, kind of like the lesson I learned in the after quote, but titled Days Past. Days Past. And let's mellow, my love, in the luscious sunset, solid before our eyes, love's brightest skies upon another's hearts, a dancing cloud of glee, the rapture of love, happily, between companions. Thank you for sharing. Let's toast to this and toss it gently, softly as it came. The bounty of honest reflection, discoloration, the dying of suppression, colorizing our succession into the bonfires of blessings to come, burning whilst we celebrate, lovers on fire, and off we go. Days past. Sort of an empathic ode. An ode to having reflected on this. And though we haven't found the whys behind our waddling questions, the wonder in all of this is our ability to still feel the emotion that came with it. Our ability to not let our hearts grow cold and callous to even the notion of having been what felt like love. Perhaps even reminiscing on the great times I had with this person. And this is where this kind of got me thinking. Even when you experience the not so great side about a person, really learn to savor the best sides. Sometimes you have to inventory your relationships very carefully if the relationship is toxic overall. When you're around this person, you're reluctant to say anything or do anything, then the relationship is toxic. But if y'all have a spat now and then, be resilient and be mature enough to work those things out. I know now that if I'm around somebody for a length of time, I'm going to experience the best parts of them, and I'm going to experience, you know, the cloudy parts. But when I think about what a person brings to me, sometimes I just look into their eyes and I see like the beauty of their soul, the beauty of their spirit that really surpasses all of that. They're a beautiful soul who just had a bad moment. And that's all I see. I know toxic when I see it too. But Bridget, these are days long past, beloved. So let's strive forward. Let's progress and let's really keep moving. And interesting enough, we're almost done with her Scars series. A few more poems to go in this. But this was definitely a journey worthwhile. Sitting by this sunset was amazing. I enjoyed my time by the water. I enjoyed listening to the waves. I enjoyed looking at the beautiful clouds, the lustrous sky. Though it's darkening before us, I would like to think, in mentioning that, that could be a symbolic representation of hope preserved. And even deeper at the core, love. But yes, video diary entry inside of me. You were so gentle when you were inside of me. How could you have been so brutal with my heart? We don't know why, Bridget, but for now, my love, let's celebrate and let's wild out on this beautiful sunset. Yes, take care, y'all. Be blessed, be encouraged, be inspired. Have a great night. Rest well, and all of that wonderful stuff. Blessings, blessings.